Tina says, can you review how to work with tenants? They are in a lease at a wholesale property you are interested in putting under contract. If the seller has tenants, the best way to negotiate with them, and what are we legally bound to? Okay, we flipped a couple of properties last year with tenants in place. The most interesting one was a fourplex that we did here in LA County, all fully rented, and they've been there since like 19 Forgotten. They were just like way back in the day. I was looking at some of the leases, and the paper was, it was like a little scroll, like an artifact type of a lease. Now, with working with tenants, I like to meet with the tenants, right? First, I'll meet with the homeowner and find out what what type of relationship the owner has with the tenants. If it's a great relationship, fantastic. I know I can transition and continue to maximize the good relationship that they have, and keeping all the tenants calm and nobody panic type of situation. Because what we don't want to do is have all the tenants freaking out about, okay, the seller's going to sell, we're going to get forced to move out, and then we try to bring our cash buyers to the property, and they give them the cold shoulder, or they never let us into the home. So you want to make sure you have a good relationship with the tenants, and it helps if the seller has a great relationship with those tenants. If they don't, then I will reach out to the tenants after I've come to an agreement with the homeowner, okay? And I set the expectation that we will coordinate and interact with the homeowners as we navigate the sales process. What we don't want to happen is to create a widespread panic and prevent us from closing on the transaction in a timely manner, right? I want to make sure you get paid, Tina, and we can navigate, we can move forward to a close here, right? So I'll go ahead and I'll be dealing and coordinating with the tenants. All right, since I do have to get my rehabbers out here, our construction teams, and my other money partners, or other advisors, consultants, buyers, call it what you want, right? Who will be visiting the property and taking a look at it. Okay, some of the things that I do so that we don't have widespread panic, I let them know that they can stay. The buyers that we deal with are okay with purchasing properties with tenants in place. So that helps a lot, knowing that your buyers would be okay keeping the tenants there. You don't have to kick them out or boot them out, right? I like to deal with buyers that are okay with keeping the tenants in there, who know how to raise the rents afterwards, or have acquired properties with tenants before. They know what they're doing, right? And they're okay with moving forward on the deal, as opposed to a cash buyer who wants a vacant property, right? I don't like to get into having to kick out the tenants. It's just a nightmare of a process. So you may want to avoid those scenarios, or make sure you have a good joint venture partner or consultant who can help you navigate and move all those, deal with those moving parts, right? Bill, any best practices with tenants in place, what to do, and some things to avoid, what you definitely do not want to do when you're dealing with tenant occupied properties?
Yeah, well, first of all, it depends on the type of property. You know, if you're dealing in multifamily units like the fourplex that you mentioned, absolutely, exactly what you did is exactly what you need to do. And it depends on whether or not the landlord has a good relationship with the tenants or not. If they don't, then you do exactly what you suggested, is you create the relationship with the tenants and let them know that you're going to improve the property, they get to stay, everything's going to be wonderful, and you're going to take good care of them, and you would really appreciate their cooperation. The second thing you want to do when you're dealing in a multifamily unit, we'll get to single family homes in a second, is you want to put together what's known as a estoppel letter. And if you have if you've established a good relationship with the tenant, you can meet with them all personally and go through this. And all estoppel letter simply is that you're verifying what the terms and conditions are of the leases. Because sometimes what the seller tells you and what the tenants understand are two totally different things. For instance, Suppose that the tenant says, well, when I moved in, I put up a $500 deposit, a security deposit, but the seller says, well, I never got a deposit, or I have no record of a deposit from that tenant. Well, that's a discrepancy, and you need to get that resolved before you close on the deal. And also, you want to verify the rents, or maybe there's some, handshake deals that are not referenced in the lease. So you want to make sure that you understand what all the terms and conditions are of the leases. You have the lease, you're just verifying what the terms and conditions are. That's all an estoppel letter is. And if you're getting financing on the property as part of the deal, the lender is going to require that anyway, because they want to have a notification in the, signed by the tenant to verify what the terms and conditions of the leases are. So that's what you would do if it was a multifamily unit. If it's a single family home and there's an existing tenant in there, it really depends on what the goals of the investor are. If the investor's planning on, taking the property, buying the property, and then rehabbing it and selling it to a retail buyer, then it's going to be exactly what Gil suggested. You might have a fight on your hands if that tenant doesn't want to move. So sometimes, as part of the deal, if that's the goal and that's the highest and best use of the property, then you may have to go to the tenant and work out a deal with them for their cooperation. Maybe offer to pay their moving expenses up to a certain amount, and work with them in every way possible to get them successfully moved to another location so you can go ahead and take over that property. If that's not going to work out, then the other thing would be, as Gail suggested, is just find cash and buyers that are willing to take the property as is and leave the tenant in place for a period of time, or for an indefinite time in the future. So it just depends on the circumstances, but you need to find, match up the property with the proper cash and buyer, and then, then you'll have the least amount of trauma in putting that deal together. Back to you, Gail.